All right, so you're back with us because you love getting into some really complex ideas and you want to do it pretty quickly.
That's right. We're going to be moving fast today.
And today's no different. We've got something pretty wild for you.
Yeah, really interesting.
From a source. It's called Anti-Economica and Skyhawk and Jolly Roger.
Catchy title.
Yeah, it's a very memorable title.
Absolutely.
And it basically lays out this like fundamental opposition between two ideas, and we're going to unpack it for you.
Yeah, we're going to dive deep today.
So the source kind of confronts you right away with these two big ideas.
Right off the bat.
Necronomism and...
Anti-necronomism.
Yeah, so that's what we're going to be looking at today.
Two big words, but hopefully by the end of this, you'll understand exactly what they mean and how they relate to one another.
And how they are opposed to one another.
Absolutely. A fundamental opposition.
So let's just dive right in.
Yeah, let's do it.
Necronomism. This is how they define it.
Okay.
It's the affirmation and propagation of death of human beings, both by actions and consequences of these actions.
Whoa. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack there.
Yeah, when you first read that, it's kind of like, whoa,
Yeah.
What does that even mean?
What kind of actions are we talking about here?
Yeah, are we talking about like, me going out and,
Ending someone's life.
ending someone's life, right?
Could it be something else?
Could have something a little more subtle.
Like, what are the consequences of actions that might lead to death?
Yeah, and that's where it gets really interesting because it's not just about like the direct act of killing. It's also about the things that we do that maybe indirectly or unintentionally.
Unforeseen consequences.
Yeah, unforeseen consequences lead to death.
Interesting.
So that's an necronomism. And like right away, they hit you with the other side of the coin.
The opposite.
Yeah, the direct opposite, which is
Anti-necronomy.
anti-necronomism. So here's how they define that one.
All right, I'm ready.
It's the denial of death and defense of the life of human beings,
Okay.
both by actions and consequences of these actions.
So it's the same kind of structure as the first definition.
It's the exact same structure, but it's like the opposite idea.
Yeah, they've flipped it.
Yeah, so instead of being about death, it's about life.
How about protecting life?
Yeah, and again, it's not just about, like saving someone's life.
Right.
It's also about the consequences of your actions
Yeah.
and how those might lead to, protecting life or extending life or...
Or even just like improving the quality of life.
Yeah, exactly.
Interesting.
So they're really setting up this like duality here.
This is like really stark contrast.
Yeah, like two totally opposite ways of looking at the world.
One is oriented towards death, and the other one is oriented towards life.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they use the same language to define both of them, the actions and consequences of those actions.
Yeah, it's almost like they're saying that, it's not just about what you do, it's also about what happens as a result of what you do.
Yeah, like you're responsible for both.
You're responsible for the whole chain of events.
Yeah, and I think that's really important because it's easy to just focus on like the immediate action, but they're saying, no, you have to think about the ripple effects.
The long term.
Yeah, and so this source is presenting this opposition as like a really fundamental thing.
This is like the core of how we understand the world.
Yeah, like this is like a basic dividing line between two different ways of being.
Yeah. Are you for death or are you for life?
That's a really stark way to put it, but
And I think that's what they're getting at.
yeah, I think you're right. And what's really interesting is that they come at this from such a unexpected place.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean the source itself, right? Anti-Economica and Skyhawk and Jolly Roger.
Yeah. Where did this come from?
It's not like some, philosophical treatise or some,
It's like some academic paper.
Yeah, some academic paper. It's like
This weird kind of like underground zine or something.
Yeah, it's like, where did this come from? Who are these people?
Skyhawk Jolly Roger.
Yeah, and why are they talking about this?
It's a mystery.
Yeah, and we even have a timestamp for when this was written.
Oh, yeah. What is it?
Freitag 28 Mertz, 2025, 0.51.17.
So late at night.
Yeah, very late at night.
Someone was up late thinking about this stuff.
Yeah, clearly someone was burning the midnight oil.
Yeah. So we don't know exactly what was happening at that moment, but it's interesting to know that this is when this idea was crystallized.
Yeah, it's like a little snapshot in time.
A little glimpse into someone's thought process.
So let's just bring it all back together for our listeners.
Yeah, let's recap.
So what we're really looking at here is this stark
This binary.
Yeah, this binary between two ways of being in the world.
Either you're promoting death through your actions and their consequences.
Or you're defending life through your actions and their consequences.
And that's the choice that we all have to make.
Yeah, every single one of us.
Every day.
Yeah, so just to really drive it home.
Nail it down.
Necronomism is about affirming and spreading death through what we do and what happens as a result. And Anti-anachronism is about rejecting death and championing life through what we do and what happens as a result.
So it's all about choices and consequences.
Yeah, and it's about being aware of those consequences and making choices that align with what we believe in.
Absolutely.
So I think this raises a really interesting question for our listeners.
Yeah, what's that?
You know, we've been talking about this in this really abstract way.
Big concepts.
Yeah, big concepts. But how does this actually play out in the real world?
Yeah, I mean, do we actually see necronomism and anti-necronomism happening around us?
Yeah, in what ways do these ideas manifest in everyday life?
In our conversations, in our actions, in
Yeah.
the things that we support or oppose?
Yeah, in the things that we buy, the things that we vote for.
Yeah. I mean, it's a really big question.
It is a big question.
But it's one that I think is worth asking.
Absolutely. And hopefully this deep dive has given you a new framework for thinking about these issues.
A new lens.
Yeah, a new lens through which to view the world.
And maybe even a new way of making choices.
Yeah, because ultimately that's what it's all about, right? Making choices that are life-affirming.
Choices that make the world a better place.
Exactly.
So that's it for this week's Deep Dive.
See you next time.
Take care.
Bye.
This Deep Dive podcast is copyrighted by Multi-Intelligent Cyber Prosecutors Orders to protect eternal truths from mortal distortion.